In this video, I'm exploring the remains of Letchworth Village in the hamlet of Thiells, New York. Dating back to 1911, Letchworth served as a hospital and rehabilitation center for the mentally and physically disabled. Its location amidst the Ramapo Mountains in Rockland County symbolized a model for compassionate care which was a stark change from the city asylums and almshouses of the time. Following scandals of institutional abuse in the 1970s, Letchworth eventually closed in 1996. The remaining buildings have been subjected to an array of vandalism and neglect. Join me as I explore what remains of Letchworth in the summer and fall months of 2024. The model of Letchworth Village was conceived by 19th century businessman William Pryor Letchworth. Devoting his life to the ideals of Quaker philanthropy and the welfare of children, Letchworth pushed for a new model of care for the disabled, a self-sustaining farming village made up of cottage dormitories, which would allow patients a productive lifestyle under the care of physicians. The buildings themselves were constructed of neoclassical fieldstone patterned after Monticello, affording residents ample sunlight. New York State approved his plan in 1907 and secured property in the town of Thiells. Unfortunately, William Letchworth died before the village was completed. The first residents were admitted to Letchworth in July of 1911. Under the lead of psychiatrist Dr. Charles Sherman Little, Letchworth Village grew to more than 130 buildings on 2,000 acres of farmland for a capacity of 3,000 patients. Driving up to Letchworth Village, I can't help but recall the newsreel that I've seen from Willowbrook, the last great disgrace.
North of the city, on the way to Bear Mountain, is a lovely-looking place called the Letchworth Village Rehabilitation Center. Set among the hills and woods of suburban Rockland County, a passerby could easily mistake the place for a country club or a college campus. But the early morning mist gave the place an eerie feeling, like a set from a horror movie.
Good morning, guys. I am here in Letchworth Village today. History dates back to 1911. And my first impressions upon walking through Letchworth is that there's a feeling of sadness for sure. And I think a lot of that has to do with what a lot of people know of as the Willowbrook scandal. And that even though the Willowbrook State School was the main facility that was named in that expose by Geraldo Rivera, Letchworth Village was the other facility. But I think like most places, Letchworth Village was, built with the best intentions to help those that were physically and mentally disabled. Something just went wrong along the way, and like many institutions of the time, it suffered from being overcrowded, understaffed, underfunded, and sadly that led to a lot of the abuses and scandals that that much of the public knows about today. But I'm curious to unpack a lot of the history here, just exploring what's left of Letchworth Village. So here we go. Okay, so this is one of the dormitories, and I want to see just what it was like inside. Oh, wow. Okay, it's pretty dark. You can see that there's some old partitions here where the patients would reside. Okay, like Kings Park, there's still paintings on the wall. Let's take a look on this side. This is pretty vandalized. As you can see, there's a lot of spaces here just for belongings, clothes. There's an old bed frame there. Very creepy. Oh, it's a little kitchen, locker rooms, probably for the staff. Oh, look at that painting. Wow, after all these years, still screwed to the wall. Pretty devoid of anything interesting in terms of equipment. You can see it's pretty gutted. Since the grounds at Letchworth Village are so massive, I'm going to show you this map to give you an idea of where I am in relation to the rest of the campus. The boys' group consisted of 8 cottages, along with an assembly hall and a dining hall. It is getting like super humid out, so I want to kind of wrap this up, but before that, I do want to take a look into one last dormitory here. Some deer over there. Similar layout. Skylight. So this is just a little more intact. I mean, vandalized still, but oh wow. There's another still life painting right there. Oh, so you can see actually a full setup here. So you have two beds, you know, missing the mattresses, of course, but the wardrobes, place to put clothing. So they're probably about 2 patients per section over here, 4 in total on either side. You can actually see there's not much privacy one would get here. Curtains are still on the windows. And patients had a mirror. Wow. Not that much privacy here. According to a 1921 annual report, Dr. Little categorized patients into 3 types of feeble-mindedness: idiot, imbecile, and moron. What's frightening to note is that most of the patients he was referring to were children, 317 out of 506 being between the ages of 5 and 16, and 11 being under the age of 5. While much of the public was unaware of the conditions at Letchworth Village, visitors observed that the children looked malnourished and sick. This was further confirmed when photojournalist Irving Haberman released a series of photographs in the 1940s showing patients dirty and unkempt, and others were naked and left alone in day rooms. Despite public outcry, no changes were made. Okay, so this building was the main hospital infirmary on the grounds of Letchworth Village. This is so interesting being here. At this time of day, with this sort of weather, it's there's an overcast, there's some fog, it has a very gloomy and ominous feel, and I wonder if that's just indicative of the past history of Letchworth Village. It's pretty nice because I have the whole place essentially to myself. I mean, a couple of people walking their dogs, but very nice, almost eerily peaceful in a way. Good thing I'm wearing long pants. Okay, this is the basement. Oof. Look at all that. I should probably be wearing a mask. Wow. That's the morgue right there. Oh, look at that. It's just so beautiful how the light is coming through there. No idea what this room was. I'm gonna guess it was probably some sort of examination room, just with all the cabinets and whatnot here. What is this? Financial aid grants. Wow. Oh, that's cool. Oh, this is interesting. I'll show you guys this. This device here, this is a bedpan washer. So sometimes you'll see these in old hospitals, but basically you just pop it in and it would do like a thorough wash. Wow. Totally destroyed. There's even like some old paperwork here. Prevention of learning disorders. So this definitely fits in with what the hospital used to be, which was a facility that treated patients with physical and mental disabilities. It's kind of sad to think about just, what it once was and how it is now, how destroyed it is. To see all this paperwork left over. Here's something else. Looks like that was from like a workbook or something. A lot of this paperwork seems burned too, which is further evidence of how vandalized it is. But I do want to check out the other side of this room, of this facility rather. By the mid-20th century, the United States was reporting 20 to 60,000 new cases of polio a year, mostly affecting children. In 1948, immunologist Dr. Hilary Kaprowski created one of the first polio vaccines, which he first tested on himself. Fearing an outbreak of polio at Letchworth Village, chief researcher Dr. George Jervis asked Kaprowski to test the vaccine on some of the child patients. It's interesting to note that at the time, approval from the federal government was required to market drugs, but not to test them. On February 27, 1950, Dr. Kaprowski administered the vaccine to 20 children at Letchworth, with the first being an 8-year-old patient. 17 of the children developed antibodies against polio, while the other 3 were found to have antibodies already. This is cool. This is like a little patio porch area. In 2006, just 10 years after the closing of Letchworth Village, a massive fire, likely the result of arson, ripped through Stewart Hall, leaving nothing but a shell of the building remaining. I can actually see some remnants from the fire. This charred wood. this was, I guess, a theater or something. It almost looks like a stage back there. Maybe I can try to get a little closer without getting hurt. But look at that. You see all the remnants of the fire. This whole roof just caved in. Wow. I'm guessing that Stewart Hall was either some sort of a school or an assembly hall, but this is just beyond devastated. I mean, look at that. The roof just totally collapsed. A quick venture over to the power plant revealed that the conditions there weren't that much better than the boys' group I had just visited. And much like Stewart Hall, the power plant recently suffered an arson-related fire. Wow. Place is completely gutted. That was the control room, looks like, at one point. There's even a manual. Wow. The last part of the Explorer brings me to the adult female and girls group. After the towns of Haverstraw and Stony Point purchased the land, some of the buildings were converted into the Fieldstone Middle School. The stark contrast of repurposed and derelict buildings illustrates the well-intentioned but failed institution that was Letchworth Village. I'm not exactly sure what the purpose of this building was, but let's see if we can get a closer look. Oh wow, look at that. All visitors, please report to the main office. Still up after all these years. Pretty fascinating. This part of the grounds I haven't been to as much. I feel like the abandoned part, which is the former boys group, is the more traversed amongst people. But it is interesting to see this side. Okay, so this says Menzel Building 66. Not sure what that was, but I'd have to take a closer look. Certainly if you're watching this and you have some sort of a connection to the place, either you used to work here or you've been here before, just in your travels, please tell me what that building was. I'm generally curious. I Cottage Building 12. So obviously this was one of the buildings where the patients would live. I believe it was the girls group, if I'm not mistaken. I have to double check my map. But yeah, very interesting, very ominous just to walk around. Kind of sad in a way that these buildings aren't being utilized right now. I mean, part of the grounds behind me are being used as an elementary school, and actually some of these cottages are repurposed into classrooms, which I think is pretty interesting. So this is one of the dormitories in the girls group. I just want to show you guys. There's still a notice to residents. Wow. They're still intact. It's pretty neat. Welcome, friends. This is one of the more intact dormitories, which is pretty cool. paintings of like the zoo books. I remember those as a kid. Oh, look at that, they got amidst. What? I'm just setting up some shots here in this room. It's pretty neat.
North of the city, on the way to Bear Mountain, is a lovely-looking place called the Letchworth Village Rehabilitation Center. Set among the hills and woods of suburban Rockland County, a passerby could easily mistake the place for a country club or a college campus. But the early morning mist gave the place an eerie feeling, like a set from a horror movie. And once inside, that feeling became suddenly appropriate. Congressman Mario Biaggi had planned an official tour of the facility for 10 o'clock in the morning, but by this time, wary of what I felt were attempts on the part of the Department of Mental Hygiene to make the situation look better than it really was.
Who's in charge here, Derek? This is Mrs. Nixon? I'm Congressman Biaggi. How are you? Why are these patients unclothed?
We don't have enough clothing. We don't have the help to keep the kids properly dressed.
We're talking about more money for the institution.
Well, that we could use because then we will have more help.
Condition in a very beautiful ground, very well-built buildings. Inside we have housed the children of many of our citizens who are subjected to what appears to be the worst possible conditions I've ever seen in my life.
There is one more thing I want to show you guys, and that's about a mile down the road from Letchworth. There's actually a memorial cemetery that was put in where the patients of Letchworth are actually buried. So the graves are unmarked, save for just numbers, but there is a memorial plaque that shows a list of names of those that are buried here. And you can see that over the years, people put in little keepsakes honoring the patients that are buried here. There's about 2,000 names or so on there. And save for just the numbers on the stones, these graves are unmarked. So it's unknown who is actually buried here, but that plaque is actually a memorial to those that died at Letchworth Village. It is a somber way to end the video, but it does show that there are efforts being made to sort of preserve the memory that is Letchworth Village. And as dark as it was in parts of its history, I'm sure the intent of such a place was to do good, was to treat patients based on what their disabilities were. So with that, I'll see you guys on the next Explore.